When we inherited this site, practically it wasn't great for a holiday site. You know, we had to get the guests around safely and give them somewhere to park. When we bought the place, there was 5 properties on the site. There's now 6. Running the business with us is my older brother Ben and my best friend stroke business partner Dave. We're all married partners. They get involved. Obviously we're builders, so we're shocking at admin and things like that, so they keep us in check. You know, mainly liaising with Menai and the cleaners. When we have direct contact with guests, to be fair, they do a lot of that, you know, behind the scenes work, as it were. I was actually having a conversation with my accountant and she brought it up, you know, how are you gonna let this place? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd not thought of that. And she actually mentioned Menai Holidays. She used them, she goes to Anglesey a lot. She's used them numerous times and she said, you know, I'd really recommend these guys. She actually gave me a direct contact. She'd used them that often. She'd spoke to a certain person at Menai, called him, and he was just really passionate about the place and he could see our ideas. He jumped in with how we'd furnish it and little bits and pieces, so straight away he gave us some really sound advice, told us how the whole process works. So in terms of picking an agent, it was a little bit of a no-brainer really. We sort of made that decision before one of the properties was even ready to go. I think we chose to go with an agent rather than trying to manage this ourselves. The main reason is they pay a lot of money to get in the right places at the right times, and they've got the staff in place with the knowledge to help, you know, a guest that had never used a holiday let site before. They know how to structure the pricing, you know, in the busier periods and this, that and the other. If you were to do something like that yourself, you're going to have to, you know, for me, you couldn't have another job like you know, like I've got, like the rest of us have got. It would take a lot of time. You'd constantly have to be on, you know, social media and, you know, trying to do that work that Menai and Sykes and, you know, people like that have already got, you know, and they've spent a heck of a lot of money, you know, getting to that. Working with an agency, for me, in my personal situation, complete no-brainer. They get bookings at the right price. They're the first point of contact with the customer. Phone numbers are in the book, but quite often we'll get Menai or Sykes ringing us saying there's a problem here, can you solve it? They help with finding cleaners and other trades if required. So if you are to enter this as a side business, I don't believe you could do it without an agent. Converting and building on this site, to us it's almost like a busman's holiday. You know, myself and Dave are builders. My brother, I can't call him a plumbing and heating engineer. He's very, very multi-skilled. So we got very, very few outside trades in, but Richard, my younger brother, he's a tiler, again, very multi-skilled. So bringing, you know, the 4 of us together, the building process was pretty simple and straightforward. Converting this place, when I'll go back to when we first got it and we said, yes, this is 100% the place. When you start getting into the work required and what the previous people had done and how we would change it, came with many challenges, you know. So the barn, for example, was just used as storage. They had attempted to put a holiday let on the front side of it. This was completely separate, and then the going up was all just storage, you know, storage buildings. When we started, obviously, the site doesn't look like it does now. It had, you know, lots of natural beauty with the trees and this, that and the other, but this building we sat in had mud floors, you know, stone walls. So I think when we got going, it was just a case of, right, okay, we need to prioritize things and, you know, make sure we've got enough funds and time. So what did we want to do first? As soon as a property was ready, we were keen to get it live. The benefits of the site being pretty spread out meant that we could, for example, Meadow Lodge was the first one to go, so that's sat in a field all on its own. We got that complete live. We did all the landscaping and everything else. That went live, and then we had to dance around, you know, guests and things, keep noise down and make sure they couldn't see us. But yeah, we were keen to get, just from an income point of view, really, get the 3 lodges. Well, at the time it was a lodge and 2 pods ready to go. So during the build stage, it probably took us about 12 months. So in that period we had, you know, obviously, once we got the first lodge up and running, we then had difficulties and timings to get right, making sure that they, you know, obviously the guests were on holiday, they didn't want to see a builder or, you know, any mess, any noise. So the biggest challenge was, the more, you know, as each property became live, we were sort of condensed back. So the biggest problem with staggering a, you know, a multi-property site is the fact that when we come up at the weekend, these guests are here, so it's, you know, it's getting around that, especially with, you know, if we need deliveries of plasterboard, you know, building materials. So landscaping wise, a lot of we've planted over 1,000 hornbeam hedges for wildlife ourselves, planted numerous trees, but it's more hard landscaping, you know, we had to concentrate on. So for example, outside the barn here, you know, a nice sandstone patio, and we've got a great local guy who's done all the dry stone walls. You'll notice them as you go around the site, really nice detail to them. We've had over 1,000 tons of aggregate brought up to site, so can you imagine 20-ton trucks coming up and down that road? Came with its challenges. But landscaping, we wanted pretty much it to nestle into the side of the hill like it does, but get people around safely. So even the lighting, if one of the massive benefits of this place at night, there's no light pollution because there's nobody around here. So we recommend to the guests, you know, turn the lights off when you can, for argument's sake. When you're in the hot tub on a clear day, the sky is absolutely unbelievable. So all the lighting, we need people to get around safely, but it's all low level, low light, just for safety point of view. So when we were landscaping it, we were very, very keen to make things as subtle as we can be. So when you're converting a site like this and it's something new, of course there's things that you would do differently. You do them differently to save you money, you do them differently to save you time. I think ultimately, as long as you're pleased with the outcome, then you've not done too bad. In terms of things you'd change, you only learn that when you start having guests come and use the place, you know. So we build this, you know, we built each property with as much as we could in mind, but then somebody would say, you know, oh, you could do with an outside shower area on the pod, you know, so when you get out the hot tub and you think, yeah, that would have been pretty simple to do. Hence why we did it on Hilltop Lodge after we completed that. Little things like covering barbecue areas or covering the hot tubs themselves, because, you know, Wales, as beautiful as it is, it's not always, you know, sunny. So just the things we'd change would be more from a usable, practical point of view, not structural or aesthetical. From converting these things to getting them live on Menai and Sykes's website, that was the biggest sort of shock to us, because you go, right, okay, we're builders, we built something. Right, now people are coming staying, we need beds, furniture, plates, cutlery, glasses, and actually when you know, we've all got houses that we live in, but you know, you buy things over, you know, a steady stream. You know, even people moving into a house for the new time, they don't just get everything all in one go, whereas we needed to. So the cost and the logistics of that, and running through the checklist, obviously we improved, you know, as we got more live, but that was a real shock to us. You know, you don't realize how expensive and how much kit and equipment you have to put into these things in order for, you know, guests to come and just expect, you know, the spatula to be there, or expect the plates and the fruit bowls and coffee makers, and the list goes on. So yeah, and then obviously the linen and the quilts and everything else that goes with it. So that was probably from okay, yeah, we're good at building things, but that was the biggest shock, you know, getting everything complete. Welcoming the first guests, that was exciting, nerve-wracking, scary. You wanted to make sure everything was right, you know, you're waiting for that first review. I remember having a conversation actually. Meadow Lodge was the first property to go, and I was like, should I go and speak to him? Should I just sit back and see how they get on? And as it happened, it was a family, and the dad sort of caught my eye and waved me over. It was really complimentary about the place. He could tell it was brand new and said we'd done a fantastic job. He then messaged me afterwards and said he's had a great stay. He's been 3 times since. So, but yeah, and then as each one comes on board, you're instantly waiting for the initial feedback, mainly so we can go, all right, there's a problem, let's solve it. What makes these properties stand out? The location has to be a big part of that. People drive up the lane thinking, where are we going? And then they get there. Quite often we see people parking up for Hilltop and Woodland. The first thing they do is they get the phone out and scan the view. When they come to the houses and the barn, the kids are straight in the garden and checking out the hot tub. It's a really nice feeling. You know, I might be cutting the grass over there and the new guests arrive and you can hear them, you know, you can hear the level of excitement in the voices and this, that and the other. I don't know what sets us apart, but I do know that, you know, what we've built is unique for its location, pretty special, and I'd like to think it was done with good taste. Having 3 different kind of properties on the site, obviously you know, you've got the stone buildings that can house more people, so the house is up to 8 guests, the barn's up to 11 guests. What's really nice about that is you see single families, multiple families, groups of friends, 40th birthday parties. So you see them using the property together, which obviously brings a different vibe. So that's really nice to see. You know, they all off they trundle out with the dogs or going out for the day. In terms of the lodges and the pods, the maximum only sleeps 4, so it's nice to see, you know, mum, dad, a couple of kids, and the kids are running around the fields and playing in the hot tub. In terms of the money they bring in, I think it's all relative. So obviously the barn costs more to run and to maintain from a cleaning point of view. I would say the stone buildings naturally bring in more revenue than the pods and the lodges. What's really nice about the pods and the lodges is they set up on short breaks, so you'll get a more consistent turnover. So people are more likely to stay in the barn for a week, where Friday to Sunday you would get a family in Meadow Lodge, and then it's being changed out again for the week coming. So yeah, having that mix of different accommodation really gives you, you know, a steady stream of all different kinds of setups. In way of a tip, in way of advice, when you come into something like this, if it's a single property, I think that would be quite simple to do. You know, make everything simple, user friendly, make the layout as usable as possible. If you're on multiple sites, give them space, have that clear order of priorities, you know, from a financial point of view, from a getting people in point of view, from a logistical point of view, just have that plan before you get all giddy and start building things. You need a good team around you. Cleaners, so on this site we have cleaners, we have good people that I've got to know personally at Menai. We've got good local people, the farmers. I mentioned our dry stone waller who does a lot of gardening for us. We've just got a new guy who lives locally on board that will come and clean the hot tubs, and if somebody's got a problem, they can be the first responders on site. So I think having a bit of a team around you definitely helps, definitely makes things easy.